Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. And today we are going to be focusing on just one colour. Now I'm going to show you just how much variation you can get using one colour, and that sometimes it just helps to simplify things. So I'm going to be using the Gina K Innocent Pink. Now actually all I'm going to use today is some of the re-inker and then this cardstock, which is obviously the Innocent Pink colour. This is a gorgeous heavyweight cardstock, so it is perfect for card bases. So I'm going to take one of the sheets to begin with and create a card base. My card bases are just going to be 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And the second piece here I'm going to cut up so that I can have a couple of card fronts, or I can create some of the focal features out of these. Now, of course, we need to make sure that we have a decent amount of contrast. So I'm going to have this white piece of cardstock here, and I'm going to run this through with an embossing folder. When you are creating a card that has, really simple colors and not too much going on in that respect, you need to make sure that you make some variations to keep the card interesting. So we really want to make sure there is a few different textures involved as well, and different tones of the same color. We can use that to our advantage as well. So I've got a couple here that I really like the deck panels one from Altenew on the right here, but I just felt like it almost wasn't busy enough, and so I'm going to go with the organic petals from Sizzix. Now I think these are still available. If they are available, I will link them down below, but if not, then just use any folder that has a nice all over busy pattern, I guess. This one is fairly busy. It is 3D and there are lots of fun techniques. I've had this one for a long time, so this one features in lots of my videos, but lots of lovely texture in the background, and we're just keeping it white, doing nothing else to it except for keeping it white. So I will now have that onto my card base with an extra little border, so I just cut it a little bit smaller. Now, for this part, we are going to create a tag. Now, by all means, if you have a tag die, then go ahead and use that, because that's going to be perfect. Sometimes I prefer, when, for example, with a tag die, I sometimes can't get the right size, right? It's always a little bit smaller or a little bit too big for what I need. And so creating a tag for me is just as easy. Now I just make a little rectangle, snip off a couple of corners, and then we have a tag pretty much ready to go. I do want to create one the same in white. So I have this little piece of scrap white paper here. I'm measuring how big I actually ended up making this one. I'll make the same rectangle, and then very simply, I just hold them up against each other so that I can create the exact same size tag. Not really exact science, but it does the job. Then I'm going to end up coloring this white one. So I have the Innocent Pink re-inker here, and you could also just smush the ink pad, because these Gina K inks are water reactive, so we can turn them into our very own watercolors. And I am going for a sort of dip dye technique here. Now this is super easy, there's no rules involved. All I want is a really light color to start with. So you can see I have a cup of water over there, and I'm just going to add quite a lot of water. I want a really diluted version. Now here's what you want to do. You want to make sure this layer is completely dry before you move on to the next one. Now I did do it backwards here because I decided I wanted one more layer higher that was sort of a weaker version. So I went up before I went down, which is not what you're supposed to do, but there's no rules and we can do what we like. Then I have got another, a little bit stronger. I added a little bit more color from the re-inker and added it into my little water pile, and that way I have the next layer there. And you can see I'm drying in between all the time, because if you don't dry, they're just going to blend together. But I want there to be that really harsh line where we've dyed it. It looks like, you've kind of dipped it in the water up to that certain line. And so that's what I want to create. I want those lines because this is, as I said, we're just going to use one color to create a bit of interest going on too. Then I'm just going to use the full strength ink down the bottom here and really get that last layer nice and dark. Now I am going to give this a little bit of a dry, but I'm also going to pop this aside so that it dries really nicely whilst we work on the other tag that we have created. And this one is going to feature the sentiment as well as a tiny little bit of decoration as well. And as usual, you can do parts of this, you can do not as much as this, you can add far more and just have all the colors under the rainbow. You could do whatever you like at this point, but this is just sort of like a starting point, something that you can start off with, and then, the world is your oyster. So I have got some Sizzix adhesive sheets here, some double-sided adhesive sheets. I'm going to cover the back of some white cardstock and the back of some vellum cardstock. I am going to, in the new year, I don't know why I don't do this already. It's something I'm just not good at, but I'm going to take a few full sheets of vellum and full sheets of white cardstock and just cover the entire backs of them with double-sided adhesive and then have them ready to go, because I feel like I do this a lot. I feel like I'm constantly doing little pieces, so I may as well just do big sheets, and that way I can cut off what I need without having to go through that process every single time. Now, this die here is a favorite of mine at the moment. This is the Waffle Flower Print and Script Thank Yous. Now, there are two different, one print and one script, two different fonts, and they both say thank you. And they both have shadow dies, which makes for a really versatile little sentiment. Now, of course, this is a smaller die set, so it has a good price point, and that's one of the reasons I purchased it. I have gone ahead and done both of the dies in here, and I'm going to just, whatever I don't use, I'll just pop in the back of the packaging for next time, because they're white cardstock, so I will definitely use them. Now, during a recent tidy out, I put all of these rub-ons into one packaging, one Ziploc bag, and so I could sort of easily access them all, but I've actually really used all of these quite well, and so there really is just bits and pieces left of each one, and so I put them all together because that just means that I will use these all together. I don't need to keep the sets separate or anything like that. So out of the Blush and Sage rub-on set, this is from 49 in Market, and these are just my absolute favourite rub-ons. As you can see, I have a few packets of them I've purchased over the last couple of years, and these are just stunning rub-ons. They are absolutely beautiful. I have a whole lot of videos on my channel using these rub-ons, and they're just so easy to work with, and they are so stunning. So I'm going to use a few of them today to jazz this up. Now, this is a pink rub-on, obviously. I guess it's a blush color because that's what the set is called. And I guess this isn't cheating to me because it's a pink rub-on, and I think you need a little bit of contrast. So you'll note that I have also cut out a couple of green leaves as well. So we are just going to add a little bit of interest. Now, at this point, I would say if you have a stencil that you could use that would do the same thing, a little bit of anything, a little bit of pattern in the corner, use some of the Innocent Pink ink, the ink pad that we had at the beginning, and pop that through a stencil, and you're going to get pretty much the same pattern, pretty much the same effect. And depending on how much ink you use, how heavy-handed you are with it, you're going to get, that contrast between the cardstock as well. So you can absolutely do that, and that would be using all of the same color too. Now, I have these couple of little stitching lines that I'm going to pop down the side. As I said, this just makes life so easy. I absolutely love all of these rub-ons. As you can see, I've purchased quite a few of them, and I definitely just want to make sure I use them up. So this is where I'm sort of putting together what I want, and I wasn't sure if I wanted the script or the nice print, thick print die, and I think I'm going to go with the print one. Now, I have the vellum shadow cutout here too, and it does have the double-sided adhesive on the back of the vellum. Now, in all fairness, when I come to do this, I put them on the vellum and then I put them onto my little tag. You can barely see the vellum. It really doesn't show that well, so honestly at this point you could probably just use the normal die without having to add the shadow, and it would look beautiful. But nonetheless, I did it and I know that detail's there, so that's okay too. These are just using the double-sided adhesive just makes it so easy when it comes to adhering it to your projects. So you can see here when I pop it down, that shadow die is actually really hard to see. Usually what I do is I just put them down really lightly, and then I can place them wherever I want them to go, make sure they're sort of, nice and lined up, and then I give them a good press down. So I have two of the little pieces of greenery, some foliage that I'm also going to pop on the top. As I said, this is just a good pop for contrast. So I will pop one up the top and then one kind of coming down the corner a little bit. If you get any little extras like that, just pop them on. I think it's nice to use them all up, and it sort of comes in from all different angles. So I have one in the top right hand corner at the top, and then one at the bottom left, give or take, doesn't have to be perfect. And as I said, this just provides some really nice contrast to all of that beautiful pink that we are using. So this is the second tag pretty much created. I'm just going to trim up the edges, keep everything nice and neat. Then to sort of finish off the tag look, I guess, I'm going to pop a little hole punch. This single hole punch is one of my favorite tools in my craft space, and it's one of the cheapest. I use this all the time. So I'm going to line these up so I have the hole perfect in exactly the same place on both of them, but I mean, that's not really necessary. But there are our 2 tags, just handmade, beautiful tags ready to go. Now let's put this whole card together and give it some finishing touches and show you how it's going to turn out. So I'm going to put quite a lot of glue on the back of this just because it has all of that texture, and I want to make sure that I've got lots of contact points so that it's going to stay in place. Now this one, remember I made it a little bit smaller, so we have a gorgeous little pink border from the Innocent Pink card base that we have used. Then it comes to our tag making. Now these threads here are actually left over from our Christmas tag set, and I actually ended up just adhering all of the tags, and so I had all of these little gold threads left, and I thought, you know what, that would make a great tassel. So I popped it in my little craft space, and here we are. It is going to be the perfect little tassel. Now just to keep everything in place how I want it, I'm going to pop a little bit of double-sided tape on the back there just to keep it so I know it's sort of not going to unravel at all at any stage, depending on who it's given to. Then I want to pop up the layers sort of in between. So I'm just going to use a whole sort of background sheet of my dots here. Remember, this is just as good as the dots. The outside is exactly the same material. It's all going to work perfectly the same, and it gives really good support. So I'm going to pop that in between the 2 layers, and then all I'm going to have is that dip dye one just sort of poking out the side a little bit. They're going to be off-centered a little bit, which to me does feel like a little bit of a waste. It's hard to cover up that beautiful work, but I have other cards where I've made the dip dye technique, and it is the focal point of the whole card. So I'm not too sad. It is beautiful, and I know it's in there, and you can see enough of it that I think you can appreciate it too. Now, adhering this down to that gorgeous bumpy surface, I'm going to add some liquid glue, but I'm also going to add some double-sided tape just to give it that instant grab. And then with the added glue, I know that it's not going anywhere. I'm going to pop that on the front of my card. Now, you could absolutely be done here. I think this looks stunning as is, but as usual, a couple of finishing touches are going to take this to the next level. I am going to shorten up that tassel just a little bit, and so I can kind of curl it around a little bit. These are almost wiry. They don't feel wiry, they feel soft, but they almost stay where you put them. So I will eventually curve them around the side a little bit. Then I have some little raindrops, little glass drops that are going to go on there too, just a couple. And when I add some adhesive behind these, I will use some liquid glue, something really, really strong, because I don't want these moving. And these will turn pretty much transparent, completely transparent. You can see there they look absolutely gorgeous. These little raindrops, I love them. And that is going to finish off today's card using pretty much just one colour. We've got the card base, we've got the tags, we've got the ink, we've got all the good things that are all in that innocent pink colour. As usual, I will list all of the supplies in the description box below this video here on YouTube. If you would like to support my channel, there is the Buy Me a Coffee link down below. For all of these videos that I have, I do 3 videos a week here on YouTube. And I would just like to say thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful, happy holiday season, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.